The Chargers offense and Justin Herbert had a miraculous comeback late, taking the lead in the fourth quarter, but it was not enough to hold off the Kansas City Chiefs.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer. We've been covering the Chargers now for 6 seasons, but this is our 5th season as a host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you guys so much for making us your first listen after a game like that. We really appreciate it. And to make sure you never miss the show, go subscribe to the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and also follow the show for free on all platforms wherever you get your podcast from. And what a frustrating game, right? When the Chargers seem like they may have kind of changed the trajectory of their season late against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs come down and score. The Chargers cannot come back and really respond to that after, and the Chargers end up throwing an interception on their final drive. But a very back and forth game in the end. So we're going to talk about the wild ending there. The Chargers defense cannot come through on the biggest drive of their season after Justin Herbert, what a crazy throw and catch to him and Keenan Allen. Josh Palmer gets the late go-ahead touchdown. But you felt like you always knew it was too much time for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. How much you could do about that? Not really much in what the Chargers were dealing with there. And we'll also just talk about the offense getting off to a hot start, finally looking like themselves, and then just having another stall to start the second half, to start the third quarter once again. But today's episode of Locked On Chargers is presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. And what a brutal way for this game to end, David. 2 games back-to-back weeks on Sunday Night Football with the Chargers a chance to really change kind of the trajectory of their season. They have second-half leads in both games. Both games they get outscored in the second half and they can't come through. But this one specifically, Chargers get the go-ahead touchdown. Minute 46 to go. You go up by 4. We knew it was going to be a tall task for the Chargers defense, but in the end, the Chargers can't hold on. The Chiefs go right down and score, and then the Chargers, obviously, with 31 seconds left, couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so frustrating, Daniel. I mean, it's just in this game, you just felt like, okay, the Chargers, they have a chance. They're going to go down. They score a touchdown, and just in that moment when they scored that touchdown, it was just like, there's too much time left on the clock. You know that team over there executes at such a high level in these moments because they've been in these moments time and time and time again. And not only have they been in those moments, they've excelled and they have come through on top in those moments. So they expect to do that. And unfortunately for the Chargers, I don't know if we can say that when they get put in those positions, they expect to win, because when they do, it just doesn't happen. They just don't come out on top. The Chiefs do. It was just too much time. You knew it. The Chiefs went right down the field and they score, and just too little, too late for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, it was. And I think the thing is, too, is just not being able to close these games out has been such a factor for the Chargers basically the entirety of Justin Herbert's career so far, right? And it just, once again, they can't come through. And, he does have a little bit of blame down. We'll get to that with the interception. But for Kansas City, I mean, to go down like they did and score as easily as they did, right? I mean, it's just brutal. It's totally deflating. They get the ball back with a minute and 46 left to go. They end up really shooting themselves in the foot, a third down penalty on Derwin James. They would have been at least in a fourth down, and you never know what happens, right? Maybe somebody drops a pass. Maybe, somebody gets pressure and sacks Patrick Mahomes. You don't know. You want to make him have to do that fourth down, though.
Yes.
He ends up getting called for a holding call, extends the drive. And then Derwin James, really after playing such a great game, gets beat by Travis Kelce on that final play. And to me, I don't understand how you let Travis Kelce beat you there with the weapons that the Kansas City Chiefs had. Like, I love Derwin James in one-on-one. I said during the game, I thought he's the best player at defending Travis Kelce, but there are ways to get around that, right? The Chiefs end up running a pick play. It turns into a 17-yard touchdown for Travis Kelce. It's just brutal for it to happen like that, especially after what the Chargers did, David, because the Chargers offense actually came to life after struggling to start the second half. They go down the field. On 3rd and 18, we see one of the best throws of the season, a throw that we feel like might change the Chargers season. 46 yards to Keenan Allen, who lays out and makes a diving catch, that totally gives the Chargers offense the spark they needed
Yeah.
after they had already created a turnover. And then you get the go-ahead touchdown, right, with 1:41, and it's just like all of that is basically for nothing. Now, that was a great drive by the Chargers offense, but at the end of the day, Kansas City gets the last laugh.
Yeah, they get the last laugh, and it's Travis Kelce doing it to the Chargers again. I
Yeah.
cannot stand that dude. And the reason why is because he's great. You have to give this guy his credit. He just shreds everybody. And it seems like he gets up for these Chargers games and hey, Derwin James smashed him down in the first game. Well, Travis Kelce, he got the last laugh in this one, scoring 3 touchdowns, and then the third one obviously is that go ahead and
Yeah.
they go ahead and secure a win. It's just that's the guy you cannot let beat you. I mean, in those big moments, I love Derwin James too, and I get it, but he's not Superman. He's only one person, and the guy was phenomenal in that game. But double team that guy, triple team that guy. I don't care if you leave everyone else one-on-one. Just do not let that guy do that to you. And
Right.
he did. And, it's just another opportunity that the Chargers had to put themselves at least in a conversation for the AFC West. And now we can't have that conversation anymore. That ship has sailed. And we have to think that, do the Chargers even have an opportunity at the wild card? Right now, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, they've erased all margin for error, and that's why this would have been such a big win for them. But I mean, it sucks too, just because you actually saw some signs of life, you saw some things going right. But at the end of the day, the Chargers defense, was totally overmatched. Nobody had any faith in them before the Chiefs started that drive. You're hoping that the Chargers would just have enough time to maybe come back and get some points of their own,
Yeah.
which they kind of did, David. I mean, you get the ball back with 31 seconds, and just the way that game ends is just totally dissatisfying, right? Because the first play was really weird. I mean,
Yeah.
Justin Herbert tries to run almost immediately after snapping the ball and ends up taking a 5-yard sack. In the grand scheme of things, it only costs you 6 seconds, but it does cost you 5 valuable yards when you're trying to get in the field goal range.
Yeah.
And then you take a timeout. You still have 25 seconds left, and you basically need 35 to 40 yards, but you have all your timeouts, or you at least have 2 of your timeouts left at that point. Justin Herbert gets pressured on second down. He throws the ball up to Keenan Allen that was ill-advised in double coverage. The ball gets tipped up. It gets intercepted, and the game is over. And, I mean, Justin Herbert put on his, Superman cape just to get the Chargers ahead there, right? And he deserves a lot of credit for that. That was a ball that shouldn't have been thrown, David. Would they have come back and tied it? I don't know. I think it was still a very steep task because of how the offensive line was playing towards the end of that game. But that is just something he can't have in that situation. And it sucks because that's what's going to be remembered about him and his performance here, even after doing so many great things early on.
Yeah, and that sucks. It really does suck for Justin Herbert because the narrative is going to continue. Justin Herbert can put up crazy stats, make incredible throws, but when it's crunch time, he can't get the job done. And this is going to be another, feather in the cap of those people, those detractors of Justin Herbert, which is horrible because after 23 of 30 and really spreading it around, he really looked good for the majority of this game, but that was a decision I know if you ask Justin Herbert that he's going to want that one back because you didn't have to push it. You didn't have to take that unnecessary chance. You had timeouts. You could live to fight another down. That's just one of those you're going to have to learn from. Hey, he's still a younger quarterback, so hopefully this is a learning experience for Justin Herbert. So the next time he gets put in that position, he can have a better, decision to make in that moment.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And it just sucks is I feel like you see him trying to do too much, right? You see him trying to will this team to victory. And unfortunately, the Chargers are a team, especially going up against a team like this, where it feels like Justin Herbert has to be perfect. And he almost was. Like outside of a couple of drives, Justin Herbert basically had the perfect game for the most part and made a ton of huge throws.
Yeah.
But that is one that you want back. And I mean, I don't know if it changes the outcome of the game, but it took away any chance the Chargers had of getting back into it. And you have to know that, hey, with a couple of timeouts, we can still get a big chunk over the middle potentially.
Yeah.
Probably, maybe it wasn't likely at that point, but they still had a chance. And it's tough for it to end like that because he truly was incredible. And we actually got to see this offense look like we've been really wanting it to for so long in the first half, putting up 20 points. And then again, we see a second half stall where the first 3 drives of the Chargers second half, they cannot put up any points offensively. And that's why even with that great drive, it just feels like too little too late. So we're going to get more in depth in the Chargers offense and kind of what went wrong there. coming up after this, but I do need to tell you guys that this holiday season, make sure you find what you love at Total Wine and More. With so many great bottles to choose from, it's easy to find a new favorite Cabernet or Chardonnay or the perfect gift for everyone on your list with some help from a friendly guide. And all the confidence that you guys have, you found something special for the lowest price. Love what you find only at Total Wine and More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Drink responsibly. Be 21. I also have to tell you guys about something super exciting, and it is Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts. This is a really cool thing, guys. I mean, I've already checked out the cars available. I haven't, got any of them yet, but I checked out a lot of really nice cars just around me. I mean, there's tons and tons of cars to choose from. You can browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the US, UK, Canada, and coming soon to Australia as well. Book a spacious SUV or a minivan for a family road trip, or you can get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday, and show up really in style. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms and conditions and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. All right, David, well, I want to delve into this Chargers offense a little bit because it was really good to see it looking like we've really missed it. And I mean, Keenan Allen, I think if you ever had any question about what he means to this Chargers offense, it was all quieted during this game because the Chargers just looked so much better offensively. And I do want to focus first just on the good of it, which was the Chargers were cooking in the first half, even after they lose Mike Williams after an insane catch on the sideline. It only took one catch and him coming down awkwardly for him to not be able to continue playing on that ankle. After we heard, it was 200% and everything, it only took that one play. And that was brutal, but it did not slow the Chargers offense down in the first half. The Chargers offense was really good. Justin Herbert, 14 of 19, 172 yards, averaged 9.1 yards per attempt in the first half. And you start the game again, back-to-back weeks where the opening script is actually great. You get a 32-yard touchdown to DeAndre Carter against a great defense with the 49ers last week. This week you come back and you start it with a 50-yard touchdown to Joshua Palmer. Great plays early on, and that was really nice to see, hey, when Justin Herbert actually has even just one guy like Keenan Allen back, this offense can still get it done.
Oh, absolutely. Keenan Allen just shows you how much he brings to this offense and how much he changed the dynamic of what the defense needs to pay attention to. I mean, now you know that there's a guy out there that's crafty, that understands how to get open, that feels the soft spots in the zones, presents a beautiful sight picture for his quarterback, and that's going to open things up for other guys because now you have to Keenan Allen demands respect, and you have to give him that respect. And I think that's why another reason why a guy like Josh Palmer had a phenomenal game in this one. And it was very much needed because after Mike Williams, like you said, Mike Williams makes that great catch. He goes out and he never returns to the ball game. So Josh Palmer has to step up like he has been doing the last few weeks. And he has another great performance starting it off with that big 50-yard bomb. I mean, that was really exciting.
Yeah, he was the Chargers' leading receiver in this game. He gets 2 touchdowns, and it was really great to see him step up in that capacity with the Chargers losing Mike Williams and also Keenan Allen being on a snap count because the Chargers did this, and, Keenan Allen missed some of the early third quarter when the Chargers were struggling offensively. It might have been nice to see him right out there right away to get things going, obviously. But we know he was on a pitch count, and there was big plays he wasn't in on the first half. And the first half had some missed opportunities as well. Chargers defense gets a big stop before halftime. The Chargers really have a chance to put a stranglehold on this game. They end up settling for a field goal. And then to start the second half is what's so frustrating, David, because the second week in a row, you're getting outscored by a ton in the second half. This game, it's 17-7. The Chargers get outscored to lose this game. But it starts again with 3 scoreless drives to start the second half. I mean, it's just brutal. And there's different reasons for it. I know a lot of people are going to blame Joe Lombardi, and I'll have my parts where I definitely think he takes some blame for it. But it just, you can't have it against a team like this because you go into the second half with a 7-point lead. 2 drives in offensively, you have 0 points. And not only that, you've already given up the lead that you did have.
And hey, the Chargers ran the ball pretty well in this game, but I still found myself in certain situations saying, why are you running the ball here? You have to be aggressive against this team. You have to go out there and really try to put up big yards against a team that can score in a flash. Like we've seen, it was just another example of the Chiefs saying, hey, you give us any kind of momentum, we're going to take it and we're going to run with it, and then we're going to really start to open things up. That's what the Chargers needed to do. And I think when they did do that in this game, you saw flashes of the offense that you thought you were going to see throughout this season. It just wasn't enough. I just don't I just don't understand why they continue to go back to running the ball on those early downs when clearly when they go using those rollout play actions and they're throwing the ball to open things up, the ball is moving down the field at a much better rate in those situations than when you're running the football.
Well, yeah, and that's why Joe Lombardi doesn't take all the blame for me because, I mean, on the second drive the Chargers had after halftime, I mean, Herbert rolls out and has a wide open Josh Palmer in the flats.
Yeah, that was
You
a
know, all the
miss.
defenders bid on it, and you had multiple guys wide open. And I understand Justin Herbert had pressure on his face. He throws it away. He's done such a good job of being able to get that ball out. And if he does
Yeah.
get that ball out, it's not a 3-and-out, obviously. He probably gains
Right.
25, 30 yards
At
potentially
least.
on
Yeah.
that play. And it goes down as a 3-and-out. That's not necessarily on Joe Lombardi. But after that happens, on 3rd and 1, you end up running it with Austin Eckler. I just don't get why you're running that ball right there unless you're going to go for it on 4th down.
Everyone knew.
Yeah.
Everyone
100%.
knew that the
And
Chargers were running the ball there. Everyone.
For sure. And they had run the ball pretty well in this game, but the one time they were not getting much yardage was on those short yardage situations. They picked up one with Xander Horvath. Maybe that's something you do. Maybe you go with the quarterback sneak. Either way, I mean, it was probably too long. It was really like closer to 3rd and 2 to me than it was 3rd and 1 on that one.
Yeah.
But to run the ball right there and knowing that you're not going to go for it on 4th down, which is something the Chargers have done many times from their own 34-yard line.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get the call there. And then the first drive, I mean, you have Josh Palmer making a 15-yard catch. It's nice. You get that first down. You're kind of getting things cooking. Then on 2nd and 5, Isaiah Spiller runs for a negative 2-yard loss. That's killer. You're living for 3rd downs in that situation when you're running the ball there on 2nd and 5. And then you end up getting a false start by Trey Pipkins. All of a sudden, you're coming out of halftime. First of all, you get a special teams penalty. So it's like, you're already going backwards to start the third quarter. That's not an ominous sign at all. And then you have, a 3rd and 7 that turns into a 3rd and 12. But that 2nd and 5 run where Isaiah Spiller loses 2 yards, there was absolutely nothing there. That's brutal. I mean, that absolutely killed that drive right there. And then Justin Herbert gets sacked on 3rd and 12. And the offensive line was not holding up as much in the second half. And then you have that second drive where Justin Herbert maybe gets things going. It was a great play call by Joe Lombardi. But then after that, he comes back with a 3rd and 1 run. And then the Chiefs go right down and take the lead, just like that. And the lead you did have. And then, of course, the third drive for the Chargers offense, they finally get things cooking. Everything's going well. They get into Kansas City territory, and then Keenan Allen fumbles. And it's just like they cannot get out of their own way.
Yeah, that one really hurt because, I mean, it just really felt like that they were starting to come to life. Like that offense was really starting to move after an anemic start to the second half, another anemic start to the second half. And, you felt like, okay, it's starting to turn. And you were just praying. You were just hoping on everything that Keenan Allen got that knee down before the ball came out. Of course, it was not meant to be. And you really needed something big to happen to be able to get back in this ball game after that. That one was just a crusher. It was just a huge drive killer.
Yeah, and like I said, the blame goes around. Joe Lombardi definitely deserves some of the blame. Justin Herbert deserves some of the blame. The just total overall offensive execution definitely has to be blamed a little bit for just being against this specific team. And I think honestly, Staley kind of deserves some too, because I mean, you're still trying to find an identity, right? In his second season here.
Yeah.
In his first season, it was easy to see what they were. They were wheeling and dealing, and we go for it on 4th down, especially against really good teams like the ones we're playing right now.
Yeah.
And even that seems to have gone away. I mean, it's hard for he had trust in the Chargers defense, but that trust obviously wasn't, anything great because they go down and score a touchdown after that. And they had a chance, to get off the field. But in that moment, it's like, Steele, you're going to be that guy. If not, why are you running the ball on 3rd and 1? Put it in your best player's hands. Put it in Justin Herbert's hands. Get Keenan Allen out on the field on a 3rd down where he does his best work.
Yeah, he should be on the field on every 3rd down.
It's just, I mean, it just, there seemed to be a lack of urgency there. And I think, the blame is shared by multiple people. And it's just the Chargers offense in general, just not being able to get things going in the third quarter. So many games we're talking about these scoreless streaks starting in the second half, and the adjustments just aren't being made. You need to come out and score points, especially when you keep deferring at the beginning of the game. That being said, the Chargers offense defense, I should say, had some chances in the second half to get off the field. And they did force a big turnover that ended up really giving the Chargers their best chance to win this game. But when the biggest drive came, they fell flat again. So we're going to talk about the defensive side of things here coming up after this. But I do need to tell you guys about my favorite daily fantasy app. And of course, I'm talking about PrizePicks. What I love about PrizePicks is it's just you versus the PrizePicks projections. With a lot of daily fantasy sites, you have to pick a lineup. You're probably going to go up against a lot of those same players. So if the other team ends up selecting those guys, and then the game's ending up being decided by like 2 or 3 guys, and you just have to pray that you pick the right ones. With PrizePicks, you're just going up against their projections, and all you have to do is pick 2 to 5 players. If they go score more or less than their PrizePicks projections, you win. And not only do you win, you win up to 10 times your money on any entry. If you guys had the more than for Justin Herbert and passing yards in this one, you definitely won on PrizePicks. But it's not just football. You can go NBA, MLB, NHL, golf, MMA, even college football, and they're always safe and fast withdrawals. Right now, guys, make sure you go download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100 to play with. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Well, David, the Chargers defense had a chance to change the narrative at the end of this game. They had a chance to go win the Chargers this game. And I mean, I don't think any of us had faith that the Chargers defense was going to be able to do it, but it still doesn't make it any less frustrating, kind of the way things went down. But I think to me, for the defense, it actually started earlier on and not just on that last drive, which obviously sucked. But like, you had in the first half, you ended up holding the Chiefs to field goals. In the second half, those turned to touchdowns, and it was brutal because the specific one that hurt me the most was the Chargers had the Chiefs pinned even after having to punt on that 3rd and 1. They had them pinned deep in their own territory. You had a sack by Derwin James that pins them even further back, and you bring up a 3rd and 18, and you immediately give it up, right? That changes the complexion of the game right there. That bails your offense out for sure, who doesn't have any excuses, but still a chance to get off the field right there. And I just think that there was a lot of missed chances by this Chargers defense starting right there, because you give up that 3rd and 18, just like you gave up the 3rd and 13 last week against the 49ers and all the 3rd and longs that you gave up. And that ends up turning into a touchdown. That's a huge swing.
Here we go again. With the broken record of the Chargers not being able to get off the field on 3rd and long.
Yeah.
I am so exhausted from having to talk about the Chargers' inability to get off the field in a situation where they should be in an advantage.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense why they cannot seem to get off the field. It has been crippling. It has been a large reason why the Chargers have lost multiple games this season. I just don't get it. I don't understand how they cannot get off the field on these 3rd and longs. It is simply the reason why they are losing, and I don't get it. They need to figure it out. They need to change something up. They need to get more creative on 3rd and long. I don't know what it is, Daniel. Do you? I am confused.
I know what it's not. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good play call if you're playing the 6 like that. Obviously, you send one guy deep and you have somebody do a deep in route right after that. But I just think that somebody has to get home. You just had, Derwin James get a sack that ends up putting them in that situation. On 3rd and 18, why not send Derwin James then and just make them get rid of the ball and then rally and tackle?
Yes.
Like you have to, on that play, be able to make Patrick Mahomes not let that play develop and get that other underneath receiver going across to give up that easy first down. And the only way you do that is by making him get rid of the ball. I know you're not supposed to blitz Patrick Mahomes, but if you can at least make him throw it in the first 2 seconds after they snap it, if you can
faster than he wants it to.
Yeah, I mean, you can't let him hold on to that ball and let him complete that pass right there. That ends up turning into a touchdown. But let's go to that last drive where the Chargers, they've been bad all season. They had some good moments against the 49ers and they had some bad moments against the 49ers. But in the first half, I mean, they got off the field twice, right? I mean, one of them, bounces off Travis Kelce, who's not looking, and they caught a couple of breaks for sure.
Yeah.
But they were holding the field goals. They were making it tough. They were getting hits on Patrick Mahomes, at least in the first half.
Yes, they were.
That all seemed to go away, and they couldn't get anything going on that last drive. Derwin James gets the holding call, and he ends up getting beat by Travis Kelce, and it's you get a lot of "I told you so" Chiefs fans, but it's like he had locked him up. But to me, I don't think you can let that guy beat you. And then to allow 3 out of 4 of the Chiefs drives that weren't just a kneel down there at the end all go for scores. I mean, it was just huge. And then you have the 3rd down conversions and all that, but something has to happen there. You have to have something. It was just too easy to me for the Chiefs to go down there and get that. I mean, it was an easy 18-yard gain on the first play. You don't get any pressure, and you're just letting him move the ball there. you have to find a way there, and you can't let it be Travis Kelce that beats you. So like, Brandon Staley had a good game plan. There were some really good moments from him in this. At that point, though, when you really needed something, it was just way too easy to me.
It was, and it just makes you feel like, man, these are the moments where you really, really wish you had a healthy Joey Bosa.
Oh,
You
yeah.
really wish you had that guy on your side, rushing the quarterback alongside on the other side of Khalil Mack, because you know that dude is such a difference maker. He can change things in the running game. He can cause havoc as a pass rusher, and the Chargers just don't have anyone that comes anywhere close to
Yeah.
providing that level of pressure. And hey, kudos and shout out to Kyle Van Noy. I thought he played a pretty good game in this one. I thought he got some pressure at some points in this game, but no one is as relentless as Joey Bosa is, and they just don't have another one of those guys. It just makes you understand why you have to get guys that can get after the quarterback, and you need multiple of them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Chris Brown comes back to this game. I mean, didn't really move the needle in any way. I
No.
figure Kyle Van Noy did have some good moments as a rusher, but had some tough moments as a run protector,
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where they're at right now. And it just seems like for the Chargers defense, yeah, they don't have anyone outside Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack has become, a non-factor in big parts of some of these games just because he's the only guy that's even deemed a threat at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked for him in the first half. They got off the field on some big time third downs. It just all fell apart in the second half when you didn't have any faith they were going to do it. Another thing is, too, it just seems like at this point with this flawed defense, the only thing you can really hope for is turnovers, right? And if there's one thing that they do, deserve some credit for was just, hey, you got a big strip at the game to give yourselves a chance. You gave the Chargers offense a chance to go and get that touchdown. So credit to Troy Reeder, who came in for an injured Kenneth Murray, pops out a fumble and gets the Chargers the ball back. That ends up turning into the go-ahead touchdown and saving the game. But it was just too little too late. And it just seems like at this point, those takeaways are really the only chance this Chargers defense has, which is sad.
It is sad, and it should not be this way. It shouldn't be this way. You should have more faith in your team's ability to get off the field on third downs. But I mean, this has been something that has plagued this Chargers defense this entire season, and until they make some kind of adjustments, they're going to be finding themselves in these situations more and more often throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing you kind of felt good about was, Michael Davis playing okay without, J.C. Jackson being in there. Sante Samuel Jr. has been playing lights out. He had some tough moments in this game. Travis Kelce touchdown, he's diving and is inches away from getting his hand on it.
Yeah.
And then the, poor tackling in the secondary just continues to show up for this Chargers defense as well, where it's like you have just guys running through. That Travis Kelce touchdown, right? I mean, that's a lot of open space that dude had to run at, and it really wasn't very hard for him to get in. Chargers offense still had a chance, but at the same time, it just feels like for this defense, I mean, Staley deserves some blame as well. I mean, I thought there was good moments from him as a defensive play caller, but at the same time, I mean, it just doesn't look like a defense that's getting the most out of the guys they have out there, even knowing what the injuries are. I mean, you just have to stay more competitive than the Chargers were defensively in that second half. And when you do get those opportunities to get off the field on third down, when you get a chance to win the game by getting one stop against Patrick Mahomes, which is obviously incredibly tough, and they don't have to play the Chiefs or that offense for the rest of the season. Thank God, right? So I think we could see some improvements, but it feels like against teams like that, like the Chargers have to get more aggressive, right? And you just have to kind of go balls out, and you're going to have to take some more chances to make sure it's just not that easy. Sitting back and hoping your front four can get there, not having the right schemes played up, and just really not being able to get off the field in those third downs, and not having the right calls to force the Chiefs off the field in those big moments. I mean, it killed the Chargers in this game. So everyone deserves, some blame defensively. And the Chargers had some good moments from this defense, keeping them in the game in this first half, holding the field goals, helping the Chargers get out to a halftime lead in this game. But it's always going to come down to missed opportunities by the Chargers offense in the first half when they could have had a couple more touchdowns, and missed opportunities by the Chargers defense when they had chances to get off the field and couldn't. And they had times where they could have won this game and they didn't. And then it goes on Justin Herbert, game losing interception. Is that what's going to go down? When we all know there's so much more to it. But the Chargers, there's no way around it. Took a huge playoff hit when they lost this game. Now, realistically, they're going to have to go 5-2 down the stretch if they want to get in as a wild card team, because the Chiefs basically have a 4-game lead inside the division. So make sure you guys are back here tomorrow. in a week that could be a little bit altered because of Thanksgiving and everything coming up. But we should be doing buy or sell tomorrow, getting into what happened with the Chargers playoff chances and really what they're going to have to do down the stretch to try to make a run here. And I think some silver linings that maybe they can take from this game that maybe against lesser teams can get the job done. So make sure you guys are here for that by subscribing to the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and finding the show for free on all platforms wherever you get your podcast from. We also share the show every day from all of our social media. You can find me on Twitter at Dan Talk Sports and David Drogemeyer on Twitter at DroTalkSD. You can find the show's Twitter at Locked On LAC when we do our Chargers mailbag. We usually post on there, or you can call in and give your reactions or your questions in 30 seconds to the voicemail line at 323-524-7924. Season's not done yet, guys. I mean, there's a lot left that can still be done. Will the Chargers be able to do it? We're going to find out, but I do think there's some positives. And I think, it's going to be a crazy ending, as it seems like it always is for the Chargers down the stretch, and they're going to have a chance to get it done. So make sure you guys are here tomorrow for the buy or sell when we get into the biggest Chargers storylines and overreactions after their Week 11 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.